are April and Scott, creators of naughtygym.com, and this is The Naughty Gym Show.
For years, we've been fitness and nutrition coaches to thousands of people through our commercial gyms and online platform. We've also spent nearly a decade in an ever-evolving open relationship.
This show brings together two of our biggest passions, fitness and sex positivity. Our mission is to maximize the physical and mental health of anyone brave enough to explore relationship structures that run counter to societal norms.
We have demolished our old ways of thinking about relationships, and from that rubble, built a life full of happiness, adventure, and vitality. And now we want to help you do the same.
So hop on the treadmill, start the show, and let us teach you how to never stop playing. Back to the Naughty Gym Show. We have our favorite Coach Cara with us today. And this was one of her ideas, and I love this. In honor of National Unicorn Day, we are going to talk all things unicorns today. But before we get into it, if you want to party with us or hang with us, chill with us with Naughty Gym, you can join us April 26th and 27th in Huntsville, Alabama. Cara and Matt are going to be there for our spring soiree. So Friday night, the 26th, is a free casual meet and greet at a local martini bar. That's free for anybody who wants to come. But if you want to go to the main event, which is the spring soiree, you have to buy tickets. And we have the link in our show notes at 9 p.m. on Saturday the 27th.
Did you say it's in Huntsville, Alabama? In
Huntsville, Alabama. One of the coolest new event venues, but it's cocktail attire. We're going to have a DJ, entertainment, hors d'oeuvres, cash bar, so many cool things, but it's a low pressure environment. There's no playrooms. That's intentional. Because I want the focus to be on connections, making connections, meeting people locally or not so local, who you might want to spend some time with later on. So go to the show notes, buy your tickets, and then, of course, Be Better at Being Bad Week in Jamaica, January 4th through the 11th. All right, Cara. Cara's got her unicorn head on, which I love.
I just wanted it to be really clear that in this situation, I am your podcast unicorn.
You are.
We've never had that.
Should we talk boundaries now?
So this is an FFM podcast?
That's right. That's right.
That actually was cleverer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
You did good.
Thanks.
Okay, but seriously, this thing will give me a headache.
But it's super cute. So I think we should start. I mean, some people who are listening may not even know what a unicorn is or what we're talking about. So, Cara, do you have a definition of unicorn that you would like to share or what you interpret it to be?
Yeah, I'll talk to you about my interpretation of it.
Okay.
And then, because I know that there are definitely lots of definitions out there.
Yeah.
But when I first got into non-monogamy, I did it from more of the poly side. And what I learned about unicorns was actually fairly negative. And it was like, not that unicorns were negative, but unicorn hunting was a negative thing. And so a unicorn is someone who basically is recruited to join a couple for sex.
Right.
Female.
Usually a bisexual female.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so a lot of like the ick that can be like around that is that that person might not feel like they have as much autonomy, that there can be veto power within the couple. But yeah, it's usually a bisexual female entering into a sexual relationship with another couple.
Yeah. Yeah, that is in all of I looked up the definition. There's so many like E&M and poly glossaries and stuff like that. But that is what I found most common was typically a bisexual cis woman who agrees to having a relationship with both members of the couple. Mm-hmm. And then unicorn hunters, the definition of that is a couple that's looking for a third to agree to date both of them simultaneously.
Yes.
Right. So at the same time.
All right. So Well, that one said agrees to date.
Right.
I mean, that's not, well, and look, these are definitions.
Right.
So the word means whatever we say it means in a sense. But I think what we're trying to do.
These are more cultural definitions, not technological.
Well, yeah, we're trying to find what's the most commonly understood cultural definition of the word. Do you typically, I don't think we've usually used that word as a third female who we want to date as much as it's somebody we're about to have sex with, potentially.
Right.
Unless that's what you're calling.
Well, that can be. I know several couples who do date a single female because it will lead to sex, but they kind of court her, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's where some of the messiness with the definitions come in. And I see a difference between like the swinger world and the poly world, whereas like a lot of the definitions will be very sexually explicit. And yet then in the other situations where you're talking about, it'll be more relational.
Mhm.
And I think that it could be both.
Right.
Always think of like if it's a relationship, it's more of a throuple.
Right.
Whereas like then, like there's, there's different politics in that, right? But
Right. Yeah, so I actually found some information defining what a poly unicorn would be and what a throuple would be.
ooh, let us have it. I want to hear
And
this.
so a throuple would be, and I found this on, I think it was Polygrammarly or something like that website. We could put that in the show notes. But throuple is where all three are the primary partners. They all have the equal amount of say in decision making. A poly unicorn would be where a single female is coming into a couple who are the primary. And so that unicorn doesn't really have a say. They set the rules, they set the boundaries, and the unicorn is there to agree, or if she disagrees, not be a part of that poly unicorn threesome.
Why is that called poly?
Good question.
I mean, because that's not,
Because
no
the
relational
internet said
aspect.
so.
All right. Well, yeah, I have several questions. One, do you, or at least Cara, do you typically define a unicorn as a single female, regardless of what the structure ends up being? Do they have to be unpartnered?
That is sort of how I think about it in my head. Or at least unpartnered for that evening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, right. That's what I mean.
Yeah. I think most of the definitions that I was finding was referring to a single female. Now, we know that there are instances where a married woman will offer herself up to a couple to be their unicorn for the night. I don't think that's as common, maybe. And I think some of that can be almost hot wifing.
See, I don't think that's hot wife. Hot wifing is not a threesome, typically. Hot wifing is, that's my understanding, is when a man wants his wife to go out on a date with another man and then usually report back or video it or that kind of thing. And that's not typically a threesome. I guess the guy sometimes can be in the room and may even end up getting involved and it end up being a threesome. But I have always understood a unicorn to be, and again, this is all just personal definitions. Everybody's going to understand the term a little bit differently. If you're a couple, a male female couple, I don't even know that matters, but it's a girl that's coming in to form a threesome.
Mm-hmm.
And whether she's single actually or single for the moment is kind of irrelevant to whether or not she serves the role of a unicorn in that specific instance. But am I off on that, or does it matter? Who cares? Maybe.
Yeah. I think you're right in general. A single female bisexual who's there to play with both partners, right? Not typically like just there for the wife or just there for the husband. It's kind of a threesome.
But I did find some definitions around where like people were saying that like that they were like the unicorn was invited in to play with the wife and the husband to watch.
Okay.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, this comes from like a critique of like dating sites, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
where like they're like looking for a couple, looking for a third, like the guy will just watch while you get it on with my wife, or you
Right.
know, like stuff like that, which you know can be problematic, but
Yeah.
also I feel like we're also all adults kind of entering into these situations, and so if it's not something you're into, maybe not like respond to that profile
Yeah.
too.
Well, and look, that kind of brings us into unicorn hunting.
Yeah.
So I have always had kind of a negative understanding of what unicorn hunting was from
Mhm.
a swinging perspective. And really, that's the only time I've really heard that term. I don't think we've had any friends that have, we would, could say have done that, but you do occasionally run across a profile on one of these dating sites that is, we're looking for a unicorn, and then they lay out their 10 commandments of the rules you must follow, like we'll have sex, get your shit and go, which I find a little bit disrespectful to a single female. Some single females may want that. I probably would have liked it like that when I was a single female. Let me show up, do my thing, and then I'm gonna get my shit and go. But it can appear disrespectful a little bit.
Why? What's the disrespect?
Um, it's almost feels like they're just kind of exploiting that person. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think it kind of depends on what you're looking for, right? Like if you
yeah,
are looking for sex, like I know a lot of people who call themselves unicorns who like they love it. They love being the center of attention in these situations. They love being courted. They
yeah,
like kind of thing. And I have seen where like expectations aren't aligned, where someone ends up feeling like they wanted more of a throuple where everyone
right,
had more of an equal footing. And what they ended up getting was they're like the unicorn in the relationship. And we're not really invited into the relationship as an
right.
equal. Um, and so I think that that's where, like, I know that you talked about that a lot in your Blurred Lines podcast with the casual swingers. Uh, but I think that like we can't as someone who identifies as a swinger now or in the lifestyle,
No,
I can't say that it's all just about sex or
right,
it's all just about relationships. And so there are these sort of blurred lines where I might find myself in situations where I would happily be a unicorn in just the sexual sense. And then there might be times where I'm like, I really like these people. I'd like to be a part of like this thing they have.
right.
And so,
So
yeah.
there has to be clear communication, I would think. If I guess tips for potential unicorns, make sure that, like, if we were looking for a unicorn, we communicate so well. I would need to have that type of communication with the third person to make sure that she understood what our boundaries were as a couple, but we also want to know what her boundaries are. Um, because this is a person, a human with feelings. We're not just bringing her to use for our own satisfaction. We want her to have pleasure and walk away from a positive experience as well. We don't want her to just feel discarded, when we're done.
Yeah.
So there has to, I would think, for this to be it to be successful, very good communication and full transparency. Like, what are you coming in and we're going to have this kind of emotional polyish type relationship where maybe you do have some veto power? Or is this just going to be purely sexual? And, where are the lines?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
I've always said, or have been saying this a lot lately, I don't think it's possible for anything to ever be purely sexual. But I understand the sentiment. You're not trying to get into an ongoing relationship
Right.
with this person. But I guess we can agree that in the broadest sense, what are the things that everyone seems to agree on about defining what a unicorn is? Female. We all agree on that, right? At least single for the moment. In other words, maybe even the husband says, hey, take my wife. She can be your unicorn tonight. She's not technically single, but she's just sort of been given a hall pass. But it's going to be some sort of sexual foray between a couple and a female who's single for the evening, and there may or may not be any ongoing connection after that.
Right.
But
And typically you're communicating with both partners, not one or the other. Like the unicorn isn't just speaking with the husband, or maybe is just speaking with the wife, but there's a girl that I've listened to her podcast, the Toronto Unicorn. She has a great podcast. She talks about unicorn etiquette, and how she has navigated it is she will never speak with the man one-on-one, like in a private messaging. It's always full transparency in a group or with the wife, because her primary concern is making sure that the other woman feels comfortable as well, never feels like she's overstepping her bounds, never goes into a unethical space. Right. So she calls herself an ethical unicorn, which I love, because that's a fear, when at least one of my fears would be bringing in a single woman as a unicorn. Is she ethical? Is she going to be messaging my man on the side, or trying to dig her tailends in, you know? So that's always a concern when you bring a single. I probably... which we have had threesomes with a married female who offered herself up as a unicorn. That's a safe space to me, because we knew her husband. And but there are, I guess, risks if you don't know.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, seems to be, in my experience, the most common desire among couples who are looking to have consensual non-monogamous relationship, but not be polyamorous about it. I'm not saying it's the only, but
you think the most popular?
I think it's the most common starting point. Again, not the only, but I think a lot of people go,
I disagree with that.
We'd be willing to try maybe something. But I would want it to be with another woman.
The most common is probably couples where just the women play. As a starting point. I don't know.
See, where Matt and I started, we started with threesomes. But in the threesomes that we were having in the beginning, most of the play was structured around what he was doing to me and the other woman, not what me and the other woman were doing together.
Okay.
That was something where, like, I have always said that I'm bisexual, but it had been, when we were starting this, a long time since I had had any experiences with women, and I felt very like shy and unsure. Like, do I still know what to do?
Right. Yeah. Does it work?
Yeah. And the other woman had never played with another woman either. So it was like, it felt more comfortable in that situation to have like Matt do all the things to us. And like, we had a lot of fun, like teasing him and bratting him and getting dressed up and all of that kind of stuff. Like, that was a really fun, like, flirtation that we had ongoing. But yeah, I think threesomes now for us look very different than what they did to begin with. Like, as I start kind of coming back into myself sexually and opening up all the parts of me, I feel so much more comfortable with women.
Yeah.
But also, when I say that, but like, I feel comfortable with women I know and trust. I don't feel like, if Matt were just to start talking to like a unicorn that we were dating, just him and her, that still feels really challenging to me. Yeah. And there have just been a couple instances where I have just no issue with it at all. But yeah, I definitely do still have some trust issues when it, not because he's done anything,
right?
But just that it's that fear of the unknown. Like, my son, 8-year-old, is so cute. He is always like, he's adamant. He is not afraid of the dark. He's afraid of the unknown. And when it's dark outside, he doesn't know what's coming.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. Same. Yeah. So that is one, in the context of swinging and polyamory, that's a good reason to unicorn hunt, right? To feel comfortable, kind of test the waters. Maybe that's a starting point in your relationship. That is I would think, a positive on unicorn hunting. I don't know if the term, kind of like swinging. I hate the word swinging or swinger. Just because it has like seedy connotation. I think maybe unicorn hunter, that term or phrase, may have that as well, but it's not inherently a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because it can help couples open up the relationship when they only feel safe, maybe bringing in a woman to start with, a bisexual woman who feels not dangerous, not scary. That might be a smooth first step for people.
One of the things that I find tacky, and I don't think this is inherently wrong either. I think this is just my sensitivity to this. I think it's very common for couples to look for a unicorn when they start. And, and of course, we all know the reason it's called a unicorn is it's hard to find. You think, oh, we're going to start doing threesomes, when you first start. And then it's not as easy to do as you think it would be. But one of the things that turns me off to a couple in general is if the man says, yeah, we're in the lifestyle, but, we just fuck women. I'll fuck them. She fucks them, but I am not letting another man touch my wife. Now, that's okay. Everybody has the right to their own preferences, but there is something about that because it usually comes attached to some sort of what feels like toxic masculinity to me. Some guys, he would never admit that he's insecure, but everybody around him, when he starts telling that he only allows women into their life, can feel his insecurity.
You don't like that there's no reciprocity.
Yeah, I don't like the reciprocity, but I don't like that masculine sort of, I'm okay with my wife letting me fuck a woman, but no way any man's ever laying his hands on my wife. There's something about that I don't like it.
I think that's called the one penis policy.
Yeah.
It is toxic. It's in some ways very unfair.
Yeah.
Like, I guess like everybody is welcome to create their own agreements in their relationships. However, I would find it really off-putting. And like, it's really interesting because Matt and I have had to navigate some stuff where like I feel more comfortable with some things than he does, or he'll feel more comfortable with some things that I do than I like. So there are parts of our relationship that from the outside looking in don't look fair, but it is where we sort of ended up, like where he's like, well, he's not really sure he wants to individually date. He would have individual experiences with someone that we all know, but not someone like he meets in the wild on his own and develops a relationship with. Whereas I've done that. But yeah, with the one penis policy, I feel like that just sort of kind of reeks of toxic masculinity to me.
Yeah. Well, especially if the wife really doesn't have a say in it.
Right.
Then,
yeah. I mean,
like,
if a guy said, look, I know this is unfair and she's comfortable with watching me with another woman and I'm just not there with watching her with another man. I hope to get there. I'm trying to work on it, but it usually doesn't come wrapped in that package. It's usually like when I'm thinking this in my head, it's a big muscular guy and he's very, I know I'm stereotyping. And he's aggressive in his personality and he probably owns guns. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. And he dominates. I know I'm going to make some people mad with this. And he dominates a conversation and he's almost boastfully proud of the fact.
God, it's you. I'm just kidding.
No, I don't own guns. What is it? And he's almost proud of the fact that no man's going to touch his wife. That's the guy I'm talking about. And that's the part that rubs me wrong. And again, everybody has a right to their own wishes and stuff.
I haven't met many of them.
Oh, I have met those. Yes, I have. I've met them. I just didn't point them out to you because
I want to fuck them.
I don't know, Raul.
Yeah. That wouldn't be attractive to me. It came across as like, I can do this, but like even when we were at Hito, there was a couple that we had been talking to, and and I didn't realize until we got there that they were opening their relationship just for Fido, and then we're going to close it again right after.
Yeah.
And they had some differences in like what was okay for her versus what was okay for him. And like he was really invested in making sure he like kept his eyes on her all the time. And I at some point was kind of like, ugh, that kind of gives me like, if we are having an experience together and what you're doing is focused on what's happening with your wife to make sure, and I get wanting to make sure your person is safe. I get that. But I'm not certain that that environment was necessarily the best,
the healthiest.
Right.
Try this out.
Yeah.
Where there were really different expectations for each person. Like,
I agree. I think I would be a wonderful unicorn. I almost take more pleasure in giving other people pleasure than I do myself. Like, I love knowing that people are satisfied and taken care of. And I think I would just be darling at it.
Well, interestingly, you've never had a threesome that I wasn't involved with, right?
No, not yet.
But you're saying it's a possibility.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking through that, on the fly here. I don't, it would be one of those situations where as long as I really liked the other two people, like I had a connection with them, some level of trust. Yeah, I think I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
Would that work in reverse?
Yeah. If I liked the people and
you're not there?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think like I would be fine before and after. I think that like for the 2-3 hours that it was happening, I'd have to be very distracted.
Yes,
like,
for sure.
I'm not used to being the one that's like has to occupy themselves while the other person goes and does something.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine with doing something at the same time.
See, Scott's a lot like that.
Yeah, that's the way I am.
I think I would be okay during it because I can occupy myself with a million things. And I can't focus on anything for long anyways. So it would just, but he would be, I think, he gets FOMO very easily though.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like I'm jealous or have any regrets about it. It would be like
a little anxious.
Oh my God, what is happening right now? I want to watch. I want to, be involved. I hate not being there. That kind of thing. Yeah, it wouldn't be a horrible experience. It would just be a growing opportunity for me because boy, I would want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be the same with me. And I wonder, is it still a unicorn situation if 3 people are playing and 1 person is watching?
I don't think so. I don't know.
That's different.
Well, if that's the case, you have done that because I have.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen anywhere that situation described as a unicorn.
Yeah, I kind of view unicorn as a function or it's not
an identity.
It's not an identity for me. I mean, you can call yourself a unicorn. I get it. But I feel like the unicorn is the person in the moment fulfilling that role of the unicorn that we are having trouble defining. Everybody kind of thinks they know it when they see it, sort of like the porn definition. I know when I see it. And everybody comes out, a lot of people say, we'd like to find a third woman. And we would typically say, oh, you're looking for a unicorn. But when you start trying to get down to the nitty gritty, it's hard to find clear boundaries on exactly what it means. But yeah, there's been multiple times we've been in a foursome situation where I've gotten up and taken a 5-minute break to get something to drink and said, hey, you're having fun, stay at it. And then it turns into a brief threesome while I'm taking a break. And the other guy's done the same.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So we've outlined some of this stuff and it feels like we've had sort of this negative overall.
I don't think negative. I think we've got some really good positive things out of it. But I think it's the intention behind it, right? Like the intention of the couple seeking a unicorn. What is their intent? And then for a unicorn, the same thing. What is her intent? What are her intentions? Is she just going to play? Is she looking for a relationship? Is she an ethical unicorn or an unethical unicorn?
Well, let's give some advice to people. If you're a couple, a male female couple, who are looking for that third female, what is the ideal attitude that the man should take into that experience?
I think both couples have to do it. I don't think this isn't just a...
No. I want to start. I'd like to know, if I'm the guy, what is the best way for me to handle myself to make sure everybody feels safe and has an enjoyable experience? And then we can talk about the women too. But I'm just saying, for guys that are hoping to experience this fantasy of a threesome, what is their role and how should they approach it to make the experience best for everyone?
I love that you're even asking this, because this is one of my pet peeves in the lifestyle, is that I have found too many men that I don't feel give a shit about women's pleasure.
Right.
So I think that's where you start, is like, what are you looking to get out of this? And what are your like hell yeses? What are your maybes that maybe you'd want to explore, but we need to take it slow? What is off the table? And really getting curious about what is going to bring both of your partners in this situation pleasure.
Right.
And so having a conversation with, like, if there's more than one person involved, like being like, okay, well, what do you think about this? Do you do you like it when I spit in your face? Or, that is no.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, as a man, I've never been a man, but
Yeah, but what do you want from the man?
So if I was a unicorn going into that situation, I would want the man to be attentive to his wife. And some men don't pick up on their wife's cues. I would feel uncomfortable if he was only focused on me, unless that's the agreement with the wife, right? It would make me very uncomfortable if I was the one concerned about the wife and the husband was just all about me. So a husband who is in this for his wife's primary pleasure and his pleasure, right? But also taking care of the unicorn or the other female. I think that's a big one, because I would probably call quit if I got into a situation as a unicorn and the husband was so into me that I could tell the wife was not feeling right. Because a lot of times women, we don't use our voices. And so a wife will put up with some shit that she should say no to in the moment because she doesn't want to look like the bad guy. So I would call quits on that. And I think as a unicorn, a female unicorn should go into those situations high alert and aware of how the other woman is feeling.
Yeah, I think if you're a guy and you get presented with this opportunity to have a threesome with two women, and you go into it and 98% of your mental excitement is that you're thinking about the things you're going to get to do with that other woman, that's probably a red flag for you yourself, that you should take a break and go, all right, well, wait a minute. This isn't about me. This is about the group.
Right.
And if I'm so excited that I get to fuck another woman, and that's really all I can think about, I don't know that you're going to be the champion you think you're going to be in this threesome situation.
Yeah. And I've heard about situations where a couple has a unicorn and a unicorn, I guess, that has been on a regular ongoing basis, and they'll do, different play sessions where one night it's all about worshiping the man, or one night it's all about worshiping the wife or the unicorn or whatever. I love that. I think those are wonderful things to do. But if that's not the scenario that you're aware of, that you're walking into, then that can be dangerous. That can be some red flags there.
Yeah, we have a regular play partner that we'll have threesomes with, and that is kind of how it's gone. Like, they'll, like, if it was her birthday, like, it's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Like, we'll, like, but then there have been times when it has absolutely been, daddy's choice, and he gets to decide what is going to happen. And that's also really fun. Like, I
Right.
love that. Just
Yeah.
flip around, I like whatever. But yeah, I've also been in situations where like as a woman, the other woman was like had a lot of commentary that like differentiated her from me,
Mhm.
which made me feel a little uncomfortable. And I didn't say anything in the moment.
What do you mean commentary?
So, I mean, I went through medical menopause. So I had a hysterectomy about a year ago. And my body has changed a little since then. Like, my orgasm changed
Yeah.
slightly, but like also like I just don't get as wet as I used to.
Right.
And it's sort of a hot spot for me. And when we went into this situation, this other woman was talking constantly about how wet she gets all the time, and like, look at look at this and look at that, and I'm like over there using lube
Right.
and starting to feel a little like, and I know that some of that is just my own insecurities to like work through, but that was hard situation for me to feel sort of othered during the act. So
Yeah, I could see me getting in my head about that. And then I'm sure going to dry up. Like, even if I was, like, as soon as I get in my head, there's nothing happening down there. Just like the guy is not as bad, maybe.
Well, yeah, I could
The
imagine.
guy, but
I could imagine that situation reversed where we're in a threesome with a guy, and if he had some monster cock and the whole time kept going, "Oh, I bet you ain't used to something like this," you know.
yeah, right.
I would be like, "Yeah, okay."
You couldn't get hard.
Oh, no.
It's like, look how hard mine is.
Yeah. But you're glad I'm here.
Well, I think being cognizant of other people's like feelings, desires, like, and lots of communication. Like, I really love a consultation
Mhm.
before any kind of play, even if it's somebody that I've played with before or people that I've played with before, because you know what they're open to might change. They might be excited to try something new, or they may have closed down a little bit in some ways because we tried something and they didn't like it. So
Are you talking about a consultation right before play, or are you talking about a consultation like everybody goes to Starbucks for a coffee the day before?
Either.
I think
I like both of those, by the way.
happen either way. Like, I think that like having a conversation where there's not like you're not in your lingerie yet, right? Like, you're not, but like we're in like a neutral place where sex isn't gonna happen, and we can talk about things just like that. Could be like on the car ride to the sex club, it could be at a coffee shop, it could be in the living room, just like somewhere where like you can really have an open and honest conversation, and then also have a little bit of time to think about it. Because then right before play, I think then that's when you can start to like change it from like, here are agreements, to like, here's some dirty talk. It's like, in the agreements, you're like, yes, you can bite my nipples. Right before play, it can be like, I'm really excited to have like one of you on each of these things. Like, you know, like something like, you know, like whatever it is. You could be like, that's still a thing.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is so important. We do that almost every time we play. We have like a mini consultation. What is everybody okay with? What are your boundaries? What are you not okay with? And it makes the whole session go so much smoother, to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Everybody understands the boundaries, the communication lines. It opens up the lines of communication, because then when you're in bed, you also need to communicate. It just helps everybody feel a little bit more empowered and comfortable.
Yeah, and I keep bringing kind of the guy's perspective to this, but I guess that's my job. But I think some men, and I think I would have fallen into this category years ago when we were just getting started, think that the women want a man who doesn't need to ask those questions, that he can just intuitively know going into a situation what pleasures a woman. And it's a great lesson for guys to hear two women right here, both saying adamantly that, no, that's not what we want. We want a discussion beforehand because we're all so different. I have now had enough experiences with enough different women to realize that what works for you doesn't necessarily work for Cara or another woman. And the only way you're going to know that or know it well is to have those really in-depth conversations, and don't be scared of them before they start. You might feel a little bit awkward when you get started with a conversation, but often those conversations turn into the first foray of foreplay. Everybody starts getting turned on, and they become an enjoyable, fun conversation, but you have to have them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so there was a study done on actually children in a playground. It's about boundaries, where they put kids in a playground with no fence, and the kids kind of like didn't know what to do. They kind of stood around. They weren't sure like where they could go and like what they could do. They put those same kids in a playground with a fence, and they like went to town. And like, so it's like, it's sort of like, when we know what our boundaries are, we actually feel more free to explore within those boundaries. Like as human animals, like that is something that can actually make sex so much more fun, because once you know, like all of the like green spots, like you can just go push them. And where if you don't know, then you're just like, I went into a threesome with zero consultation once, and it was one of the worst sexual experiences, where like one of my friends had an experience with him and was like, you're going to love, he does this thing with his hands and stuff. Well, I hated it. And so I told him, and then he kept doing it. It was like, this is my thing. Like I know you. And I'm like, no, like that's not. And I ended up just getting up and leaving, because like he kept taking my head and my friend's head and trying to push us together. And I'm like, if you're getting to the point where you're like trying to like physically manipulate and you haven't like talked to people about what they want to do, and that was on me.
Yeah.
I hadn't like communicated that clearly ahead of time. I just kind of got excited about an opportunity, and I just went and jumped in. And then again, I was there in that playground being like, like, I don't really like this, but so I'm going home.
Well, I think I can say any guy who has a trick in his tool belt, 100%, it doesn't work on most women. They're either faking it to not hurt your feelings, or because I don't know any one thing that works on every woman.
Right.
I mean, that's just absurd to me, or man for that matter. Like I can suck cock, but the way I do it to him doesn't work for somebody else. I mean, you look at guys jacking off. Every guy jacks off different. Right.
It's true.
Every woman masturbates differently. Some like their clit, some like penetration, some like forward and back, some like side to side. I mean, it's just everyone's so different.
But you know, I jerk off left-handed, and you've never done it left-handed to me. So.
I could not possibly do it left-handed. That would not feel good for anybody.
And so it doesn't have to be exactly the way, but
right. Yeah.
Right. Like, do you like slow? Do you like fast? Do you like, lots of lube? Do you like a little more friction? Like, what is, like, do you like your lube warm or cold? Like, and I didn't even know that was a thing. And then I learned that at Hito from Ashley Nanta. So,
so good. So good.
Well, so what is what about so we talked about what the women want from the man a little bit. What does one woman want from another woman typically in a threesome? I know that's a very broad answer to that.
Yeah. Well, I'd say for me personally, if I was the wife and not the unicorn, I want to feel seen by her, and I want to feel a connection with her. So if a unicorn comes in and she is just all about my husband, and I'm kind of feeling like, I'm missing something here, or I'm just over here on my own, that's not going to go well.
So it has to be bisexual?
Well, if it's me, but typically the definition of a unicorn is a bisexual cis woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like as the wife in the situation, I want to feel like I can trust the other woman.
Right.
I want to feel like I am a part of it, that
Mhm.
I'm, you know, I know that there are definitely situations where like both women are focused on the man equally. And even in that situation, feeling like I'm a team with the other woman, like
Right.
we're gonna team up on him,
Yeah.
that have like this like thing we're gonna do. Um, Even that feels good to me.
Right. Yeah.
But it's even better if I feel like excited about my attraction to her and her attraction to me. I think that that's really fun. And when there's trust, like I have compersion. So I really love like knowing that she's also really attracted to my husband and that like there's a thing there. Um, and there has been one time I've been in a threesome where I did get up and leave. It was at Hito, and like I had to pee. And like the closest place to go was like, you know, back at our room, which was like, it was like a whole 10-minute thing. And normally I would not leave because I wouldn't like, I would feel like FOMO, like we were talking about. But I just felt so comfortable. And I was like, you know what? They're going to get to have some fun while I'm going to do this. I'm taking care of myself. And then I'm going to come back and I can just get back in. And I just felt free to do that. And that was like a game changer for me where I was like, I would like to feel this way anytime I have a threesome where like I feel really comfortable that I could just leave for a little bit and like that I wouldn't be like anxious to be getting back, like, but kind of excited that they get to have their time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably, I feel the same way. The times that I've said I've gotten up and taken a break, most of those times I'm kind of interested in, all right, I want to see while I'm on my break, what happens with the three of them. And in
Mhm.
a good way. Like I want her to, if there is any of her worrying about anything that's
It's a little different than what Cara's talking about because she's talking about leaving her husband with another woman. You left me with another husband and wife.
yeah. Well, I guess my point in that is it's great in really any situation where you feel so comfortable
Yeah.
that you can take a break without saying things like, I'm about to take a break, therefore you need to take one, or I'm about to take a break. So now while I'm gone, you can't touch the other man or something like that. It's that having that comfort level all through the group, whether it's a threesome, foursome, 20-some, whatever, is incredibly valuable and not always available.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and Una Matatas writes about this in one of her blogs about unicorns. And she says that like also like it should be kind of agreed upon ahead of time that like just because, especially like if the penis owner is done, that might not mean that everybody is done. Or, like,
Yeah, that's a good point because guys a lot of times go, well, I'm done. Wrap it up.
mhm, I came. Like, so you know, you did 5 times. So like like what like can we move on now? Like I'd like to eat a bowl of cereal. That's what my husband does after sex.
While you're finishing up, would he just stand there eating his Captain Crunch while you're still going?
You
No,
would.
I
no,
would.
the right cereal. That's what he likes, that in life. So yeah, with
Wait, he likes what?
Captain Crunch and life.
Oh, yeah. We both love Captain Crunch.
So the berry one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the sex is going to have to be real good for me to say, you know what? That Captain Crunch is calling my name and me not choose the Captain Crunch, I think.
I think no matter how good it was, don't choose the Captain Crunch. That's why you're about to start this new fitness cycle.
So here's what Luna recommends is like you either like understand that you're more than just a penis and that you can use other things, or you like encourage the other two to continue on without you. You know, as like if you're really done and you like just like, what would you feel comfortable? Like, would you feel comfortable with me eating a bowl of cereal here, watching what's happening? Or do you want me to like leave and you can finish up? Or like, so, and I think part of that is like, that would also be part of that consultation, right? Like if one of us is done and needs to step away, are you comfortable with us continuing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Would that be a red flag for you if a guy said, now look, if at some point I finish, I kind of want everybody to be done at that point. Would that be a deal breaker for you or you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it would be for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think so. A unicorn going into this situation, I think, should be treated respectfully and with care. Like, I mean, this is a whole human being.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to respect them, and they're there for pleasure too, not just your pleasure. No more than you would want to fuck your wife. And I mean, maybe some guys do just get off and then don't worry about if their wife came or not. You need to take care of everybody. And then that goes to like aftercare with a unicorn. I think a couple should offer her aftercare, make sure that she's safe, feels good, isn't leaving in an unsafe situation. If you need to call her an Uber, call her an Uber, make sure she's in a right frame of mind. She's safe to leave, gets home okay, check on her, make sure she got home okay, check, the next day or in a couple days, ask how she's doing, how she felt about it. I don't think it should ever be a situation where it's just kind of get your shit and get out when you're done.
I'm a big supporter of women's lib. All right. But I do think that in this situation, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, some chivalry needs to come into play here. You need to respect the situation that you've been lucky enough.
I don't know that it's just chivalry. It's the man and the woman, the husband and the wife. It's just human decency.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is I'm going to feel a responsibility in that situation as the guy to make sure that other woman who has been gracious enough to entrust us to a private time with her, that she does feel those things, that she feels safe, that I'm not just have got my rocks off and am now watching Sports Center and you two are trying to arrange some of this stuff. I think the guy needs to be involved in making sure that experience is finished off in a way that you help wrap the bow on it and send her home gracefully.
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. And I'm also sort of with April on this, where I think it would be the couple's responsibility too. And each couple also, depending upon their comfortability level, like April might not feel comfortable. She might feel comfortable watching you have sex with another woman, but she might not feel comfortable watching you do aftercare with another woman. And so that has to be a conversation that is had between, I think, everybody. But then the expectation set, like I as the other married woman in the threesome, I like to take on a lot of the aftercare of the other partner. And but Matt is also very much a caretaker too. Like he does like watch out for people and like make sure that their needs are met. And so I'm not trying to say that he is not capable of that. I just feel more comfortable in those roles. And partially it might be because like a lot of the threesomes we've had have been with my friends. And so it feels sort of like a thing that like I can like check in, and I'm the one that like has had more of the communication. I don't know if that's common with threesomes, but I feel like in a lot of the ones that we've been in, it's been me and the other woman kind of starting the conversation, like, do you think Matt would? And then inviting him in.
Yeah.
But that kind of helps you build a rapport with the other woman, right?
Right. Like I trust her. Yeah. I know that this is like, that we can all like even love each other in our own way, but that interaction is not going to threaten my marriage. Whereas in like, when I like think about other scenarios where I don't have that kind of level of trust, I go down into a dark space.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the easy space to do if you don't have that trust. Kind of your mind will run away with it.
Yeah.
All right. What else about unicorns? So we've come from the male and the female wife and husband perspective. So as a unicorn, what should unicorns look for when they're looking for a couple?
I think if I were to unicorn, I would want to look for a couple where I am equally attracted to the man and the woman. That'd be my number one. So what about you, April?
Yeah, I think I have a connection. I think for me, it would be more important for me that I have a better connection with the wife, obviously, than the husband.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm more attracted to the wife than the husband. Um,
What do you mean? When you say
like, I don't know that I need an equal attraction to both the husband and the wife. I think I need to be more attracted to the wife than I do the husband. That's
Okay.
just how I am, though. Maybe I'm more lesbian than bisexual.
Okay, so in other words, you would prefer a situation where you were really attracted to the woman, maybe moderately attracted to the guy, over the reverse of that.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And would the woman need to be very into women?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I have a rule now. I don't play unless the woman is bisexual, and not bi-curious, because we've tried that and I don't enjoy that.
Well, define what you mean with those words.
Well, bi-curious from our experience has been where the woman is like, I might be okay with it, but I'm not really. I don't really like it. I just want my husband to think that I am. And it ends up being a little more performative on her part. And you can always tell when somebody's being performative, especially, well, I can tell when a woman's being performative. And so I need a woman who loves the pussy.
I was going to say, I when you've come out of situations, you've been very expressive to me, like, oh, I love that, because I could tell she was so into me, the sex part with you, and not just sort of doing it to get the ball rolling.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And does it have to be like she's into like eating pussy, or does it just have to be like she is good with like handling it, or like being curious with you, or like, just
handling it?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never thought about that. Hopefully, handling a pussy.
Well, what if the woman said, "Yeah, I'm bisexual, but I don't like eating pussy.
Yeah, I really
that.
like to have my pussy ate."
I'm just curious. I had a consultation with it. This was more of a swap situation, but somebody was like, doesn't like vaginal fluids at all, but likes to do some things, but not get the whole messy kind of thing. And I first of all, I thought it was super sexy that she was just so upfront about that. Like, and then this is what I do. So I use this thing, and then we can do this, and then we just like make sure that like if fluids get places, then we shower before we move to the next thing. And I was like, cool. Yeah. I've never done it before, but I like the structure of it. Like I know is available to me. And so
the parameters that helps.
Yeah, because now it's in my head, because I had never like had a conversation like that before. So yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good that's the difference between somebody saying something sort of vague, like, I'm not really into women's fluids, and leaving it there, versus giving you some very clear directives, boundaries, and goals, so that you don't take that vague comment and then insert a whole bunch of stuff that maybe she didn't even mean by it. That's a great description of why it's so important to be very clear in your likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
And I guess that'd be another thing that I would look for in a unicorn, is someone who really, really understands their own pleasure. Because they can be more specific and about like what they want and how they achieve pleasure, whether it be an orgasm or just sort of an ongoing feeling of like,
Yeah, I think you would want a unicorn who was confident enough in her own body that she really did know what she wanted. This wasn't, I don't know if this was like, a single woman, if it was like her first time and she didn't know what she wanted, she was, I wouldn't like that. I would feel like I was taking advantage of somebody.
Wait, what if, because that's exactly what I was just thinking. What if it was a woman who has talked to you and kind of opened up and said, look, I think I would like to experience being with a woman in a threesome situation. I know you guys, Scott and April, have had
It would
experience.
really be situational, because I don't want to have sex to mentor somebody.
That's fair.
I mean,
Yeah, but isn't there some level of, an eroticism to being somebody's first time like that?
not for me. That's a guy thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole like virgins and
Yeah.
things. Or like I met a guy who was very into like vanilla girls, like he was poly or open or whatever, but he kind of liked like dating single women who weren't, and which is like the opposite for me. Like I
Yeah.
want someone like married, had some experience with this stuff,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because I feel like you have had so many more conversations than
I feel like it's less risk, right? It's less risk. They know what they want. They're in it for the right reasons. We know what their intentions are. If it's somebody that's new, like, I don't really know, I think I'm going to try this. And I'm like, well, you're not going to try it with me.
Yeah.
Let's get some experience under your belt.
And here's the thing is like, I say this because I know the bullshit that I did when I was new. Like when we were kind of just starting off and I didn't know what we were, and we just kind of started playing with people. There was a friend of mine who had a huge crush on both Matt and I. And we were like, okay, well, this could be fun. Like maybe we'll play. And she had been poly for quite some time. And we were still kind of figuring it out. And I think her expectation was that she would be sort of invited into the relationship as a throuple. And my expectation and Matt's expectation is that we would have like a sexual experience. And it was really hurtful for her. Like we didn't ever end up having a sexual experience, but that was when I was, she remembered she was like, you don't want to really do this thing. You just want to be a swinger. And I remember the way she said it and I was like, swinger, and I'm looking it up and I'm like what do you do?
Yeah, you're right. That's what I wanted.
It actually kind of prompted us to change direction because I was like, actually, maybe that is like more where we're at or what feels safe for both of us, or like just a softer way to start or something. Because we were just kind of trying everything. Like we knew we wanted to be open, but we really didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, this is there's just it seems to never matter the topic we discuss. Communication is always vitally important to every aspect of this, and it's just unavoidable. And in these situations, you have to talk through. And again, I think somebody highlighted this earlier. It cannot or should not happen in the moment, because that's when you're the least capable of accurately expressing what you really want, and the most susceptible to feeling the pressure of the moment and just going with something you probably really didn't want to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think for unicorns, you have to be comfortable using your voice and using your no. You have to go into this situation eyes wide open, knowing that if something happens that you're not okay with, you have every right to say no. You can be halfway through it, in the middle of sex, and something happens that makes you uncomfortable. You can say no, you can leave, you can stop. I would hate for a woman to get into a situation like that and feel like she has to proceed because she's with this couple and she told them that she would. The more I get comfortable using my voice, the more compassion and empathy I have for women who can't. And it infuriates me. Like I want to be there with them to say no for them. But I'm so intuitive when I'm with another woman and I feel like she wants to say no and can't. I have no problem saying no for her.
Yeah. I keep thinking when you're talking about like the but we're talking about that, the work that Dragonflight did at your event at Be Better at Being Bad. And she did a lot of like energetic dating where you just sort of felt, and I think that most people who are having sex could always benefit from checking in energetically with their partner or partners, because it's so powerful, because you kind of you get into a space and you can just sort of feel where people are. And I loved that. I loved and then, you get a little bit of just a little like touching and eye contact, and like it's a great foreplay too.
Yeah,
So
that's something I don't feel I'm great at, is once sex has started, I feel like once it starts, that it's time for me to try to pleasure people and do my thing, and sometimes I'll lose sight of what she might be feeling, good or bad.
Well, that's why Dragonflies things are good practice outside of the bedroom. Practice that shared energy, feeling your partner's energy. How is she feeling right now? That's a skill that you can develop, but you have to practice it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt and I have been using that as like a check-in with each other. So like during times like I was telling you with this move and everything, that like I feel like my sex drive has just been like kind of on medium. And so it feels nice to be able to connect in some way, even if it's not always sexual. And I really appreciated it with other people, because it really helped me feel connected with some people that I didn't expect. And that was kind of exciting to just sort of like feel somebody's energy, and how that like changed the relationship between the two of us completely. And so
we did that with Dragonfly at Naughty in New Orleans. We weren't able to even make our own one at Be Better Being Bad, but it was amazing to see who you might be possibly attracted to based purely on that energy.
mm-hmm.
It can really change.
Yeah, I'm a little different though on that. That doesn't work as well for me, because I feel like I need more extended time.
I'm not talking about going from that to sex.
Well, I know, but like one of the things with, and the vast majority of people, I think, love that. It's just for me, those types of things don't work as well for me. I need a conversation. I need to exchange thoughts and ideas. I get that.
But we're talking about, say, in the bedroom, picking up on my energy on whether or not I'm feeling safe or I'm feeling comfortable or I need somebody to speak up for me, or that kind of energy. I don't think it's because you need more connection with me. I think it's you need to, whoa, stop your body, listen to your brain for a second.
Well, but that's still kind of what I'm talking about.
Well, and if this is like a unicorn situation, Scott, the way I was thinking of it is like you already built a rapport with the person you're going to have a threesome with.
Mm-hmm.
But like that night that maybe you do like a check-in, like everybody kind of checks in with each other energetically as well as verbally.
Right.
And sometimes we can get more information.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, like we've had play sessions before where we could tell that maybe the wife was feeling some sort of way. We talked about it afterwards. Like we could tell her energy just wasn't like something was going on there, but none of us really knew. It would have been a wise thing for us to stop and go, hey, we're just kind of feeling like things are a little bit off right now. And that would have given her voice so that she wasn't the only one going, hey, I'm not feeling right about this. Can we stop?
Okay. Well, I think I was misunderstanding. I was thinking when you say check in energetically, you're still meaning use your words to do that check-in. I thought you meant like some sort of almost mystical, let's get in each other's personal space and feel the connection without words. That's not what you mean.
Well, I think it can be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying I'm not good at. Yeah. I'll have to ask questions. All right, energy check. Let's go. Here's my 3 questions.
You are good at that because you afterwards were like, did you feel like something was off?
No,
that's you feeling that energy.
Right. But I'm saying I may pick up on the fact that something is off, But now if I do that, I've got to start using my words to figure out, all right, where do I go from here?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that's what you're meaning anyway. I don't know.
Yeah. Because like when I did that exercise at Hito, like that ended up prompting deeper conversations with like the two people I'm thinking about. But like we didn't have enough time then to still build that connection from there to like, I still haven't had sex with either of those people.
Yeah. You just wait. It's coming. If you're listening, she's going to get you.
That's right. If you know who she's talking about, lock the door. Sure.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up a little bit. So we've got tips for couples that are seeking unicorns, right? Communicate, know what your boundaries are, take care and treat the unicorn as if they are a whole human being, provide some sort of aftercare for them to make sure that they feel cared for and loved. I probably isn't the right word, but, treat them in a loving and kind and compassionate, empathetic way.
Yeah.
Unicorns, use your voice, be strong in that voice, know what your hard no's are, what your boundaries are going in. Try and connect with the woman first. Unless they have a rule saying that you can message the husband separate, keep it with the wife or in a group so that there's full transparency and everybody feels safe. Did that summarize it? Did I miss anything?
That sounds good.
Cara, any last words on unicorns?
Those are all things that I do, baby. So anybody
all right.
Anybody that wants to volunteer as a unicorn.
Yeah. I got all the attributes.
All right.
April.
Cara, any last words from you?
No, I think you like summarized it beautifully. Like I think that you hit it all. This was a really fun conversation, and now I have lots of fun things to think about later.
I'm disappointed you didn't wear the unicorn hat the entire time, but
I know. It gives a headache. These horns are no. There we go.
That's serious business right there.
All right. So from all of us at the Naughty Gym Show, happy Unicorn Day. Hope you have fun. If you are unicorn and if you're unicorn hunting, happy hunting.
Oh, God. That sounded creepy.
Yeah. And we will see you next time. Remember to never stop playing.